What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of you for Nier Automata. This is episode 18, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Mhm. I think what I like about this show is it's like it's one of those rare shows that it surpasses like the actual source material from the video game, and it do a
Yeah, I
very good
mean,
job at portraying A2 as like I think this is a more superior version of her character in comparison to her video game counterpart.
I do like how it. I mean, I'm not sure if this was in the game because I don't remember it. Like, I feel like it. I like how it does add stuff. Like for instance, the that in that one scene, the resistance member like digging graves, and like 9S coming across it, and um, like he, I forget exactly. Like he debates on whether or not he should, like, I guess, have some kind of like, or like, I guess, leave these flowers for like 2B or something like that. Or
Yeah,
um
so it
yeah,
it
I thought that was interesting.
I think they said
But
that 9S meets this character, this digger character in the side mission in the second half of the
oh,
game
okay.
while you're playing as 9S. I
Well,
didn't.
that's another thing too, is that it does, like, it incorporates some of the side missions that are actually kind of like, I guess, somewhat relevant to the main plot, because not all of them are. But like, I like how it kind of adds in the side missions that were kind of relevant to the main plot.
Yeah, they did the same thing with what was it that red hair resistance.
The Yorha deserter.
Yeah, the Yorha deserter that was featured in episode 13. But of course, they kind of played around with the timeline of the show, which is another thing which I do kind of have a slight nitpick on. Is like they're not really good at at least like telling us like how long it what the time frame of like per episode is. What
Yeah, because we're not exactly sure, like, how exactly, like, I guess, how long A2 was in Pascal's village.
Yeah, and which is another difference is in the game is A2 wakes up all on her own right next to what was it to 2B's pod, right where well, the same location where she ended up killing 2B next to the shopping center. But of course, like the
Yeah,
only
I kind of figured a lot of things in this episode were actually like anime original, because it had A2 interacting a lot with like Pascal and the machines in the Pascal's village.
yeah.
Which I don't, of course, I didn't play through the second half as A2, but I kind of doubt that really happened as that way in the game.
Yeah. Well, much of what happens in this episode, it does technically happen in terms of like
Some of the 9S parts did,
yeah,
like with 9S waking up in the resistance camp and meeting, of course, meeting Devil and Popola again.
yeah,
Like that happened because, like, it's, somebody even directly compared that scene from the game.
yeah. What
But it's like a kind of thought it does, like, transition between 9S's perspective and A2's, even though most of this episode did seem to be from A2's point of view.
yeah. So in the game that Pod of course keeps pestering her about what her intentions are, which um A2 of course doesn't want to answer until she she snaps and tells the Pod that she wants to destroy every damn machine in the world, which is of course for whatever reason it's a satisfactory answer to the Pod, I guess. But in this episode, like she just straight up tells Pod to just shut the hell up.
Yeah, and it's also interesting too because in this episode she does, she learns about the machines in Pascal's village, and it seems like she sort of eventually kind of a little bit like warms up to them. Um, so that was kind of interesting compared to, like, I guess, how she is in the game, where she's very, I guess, very dedicated to just wiping out all the machines, which of course makes sense given her backstory.
Yeah, and I do like how they portray A2, like giving her a little bit more of a personality, giving her like better facial expressions in the show in comparison like to how she was portrayed in the game. I mean, in the game, like you
Yeah,
do hear her dialogue, but you don't really get to see much of her facial expressions at all. I mean, same thing can be applied to both 2B and 9S at times.
I was gonna say that too because I mean we haven't really seen it much in the anime itself, but at least like in the opening, you see 9S making being at least pretty expressive, which you don't really see also as much in the game either. It does feel like he is more expressive in the anime as well.
Yeah, and it's also, much different with like, with 2B and 9S, they would constantly wear those so-called visors, but you don't really get to see, like you get to see expressions on their mouth, but you don't really get to see, like, like, their eye expressions, like how they're viewing certain things. As well as
Yeah.
for A2, which she doesn't have like a visor to wear. Like you can just literally just see like all of her expressions, like whether she's just like getting irritated by 2B's pod, or interacting with some of the, like, what was it, the quote unquote children machines in the village.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, of course, most of the episode does focus on A2 trying to, recovering from being, unconscious, and also recovering, well, trying to uh, be able to move again because she's been paralyzed because due to her, I guess, like one of her filters not working right. Um, and she has to get it replaced, but she does at one point try to ask the pod, 2B's pod, to do it for her, but it can't because A2 can't give the pod commands. So she has to end up basically, well, she ends up, because I thought she would have to end up like asking Pascal maybe to help her with it, but she ends up coming across Lily from the resistance group, um, who brings her back to the resistance camp to, I guess, help prepare her.
Yeah, which is also interesting because, well, of course, in the game, like, A2 does end up reuniting with Anemone, but there's no voice dialogue in it. It's just a text dialogue, like, just reminiscing of what happened during the whole Pearl Harbor descent, but it doesn't really elaborate much from there. Whereas for the anime with A2 interacting with Lily, it feels a lot more wholesome, with expressing themselves, like, what happened since they were separated, the Pearl Harbor incident.
Yeah, and I mean it makes more sense too because the anime actually goes over the Pearl Harbor descent, whereas in the game they don't really show any of that.
Mhm. Yeah, and of course, Lily, of course, does point out, A2's change in personality and her tough facade, but of course, she can see right through it that, despite, you know, like, that tough facade that she's putting on, like, she can tell, like, how much of the same person that she saw, like, back during the Pearl Harbor descent, back then.
Hmm. Yeah, and of course the episode ends with like 9S pretty much like vowing that he's going to wipe out the well, I guess that he's going to get revenge on for 2B after having run off from the gravedigger.
Mhm. Yeah, and of course, his first objective is to go to the tower and possibly destroy this thing. Of course, that'll most likely be the same objective for A2 once, well, once now that she's recovered, that like now that she'll be able to move on and try to figure out like how to deal with this tower. But then, like, of course, we also have to wonder, now that Devil and Popola are gonna be more prominent characters for the second half of the show.
Yeah, there is something from the game that I'm wondering how the anime is going to handle that. I mean, it'll probably actually be like an animated segment, um, because there is like a part in Nier Automata with where they go over like at least this, cause this model of Devil and Popola, like their backstory and everything. Um, and I'm pretty sure, at least, especially considering they included like the Pearl Harbor stuff, that'll probably be like an animated segment, and we'll probably get like some more, maybe like some more Easter eggs from Near Replicant, because that does directly like tie into of course, like Devil and Popola. So um, I mean that'll be interesting to see like how they do that, or if it even is like if they do animate it, or I mean I kind of find it hard to believe they'd skip over it, but I'm looking forward to that too.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, we barely kind of got some glimpses of it, from the near replicant, I guess, cameo stuff, if you can call it, from one of the earlier episodes. I think, like, we do get, like, a cameo glimpse of Kaine in one episode, and then I think, some of the scenes from near replicant as
uh,
well.
yeah, we saw Kaine and we saw Facade.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it. But this is something that is kind of an important plot point that does, I guess, technically carry over from Near Replicant. So it would make sense if they, directly reference that, from Near Replicant.
Yeah. I'm curious on whether or not, like, if they're gonna have, Emil do anything else in this show, because we barely get, like, 2, I guess you could say, like, a couple cameos in this show. Uh, but, like,
Hmm.
for Emil in the game, like, he's relegated as, like, I don't know, there's just this wandering merchant.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then he was he was in the tree. Um, but
Which
yeah, I
I
mean,
still don't understand as to why they put Emil in the tree in Pascal's village in the first place, unless there's gonna be another reason for him to be there, or maybe he wakes up and then guides A2 to do something. I don't know. It's just it was weird for them to place Emil into that position.
well, there is a side quest in near near Automata that has to do with the meal. So they could do something with that too, but I don't want to spoil it.
Mm.
But yeah, so I don't have much else to say about the episode though. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Yeah, it was a good episode. I did like how they portrayed A2 in this episode. I mean, honestly, I do like, the anime version of A2 in comparison to the video game. I mean, you have to wonder, like, since seeing as Yoko Taro is, working on the anime, you have to wonder, like, if he would have made any sort of improvements, or if this is something that he would have put into the original game in the first place. Like, maybe they,
Hmm.
if they wanted to expand on A2 a little bit more, they could have had, the Pearl Harbor descent as, like, a separate mission put into the game rather than just having it placed in as text logs.
Yeah. Well, I feel like near anime is kind of like his, like, in a way, like his definitive, like, version, I guess, of Nier Automata in terms of maybe like the story and characters. Like
Yeah, I mean,
this. Yeah.
I think I've said this, I think during when we were reviewing the first half of whether or not you should play the game or not. I think they're I think they're doing a good job in trying to, like, attract people who haven't watched who haven't played the game at all. I think this would be, like, this would definitely be a good starting point for people, who haven't played it, and, like, there's enough material for, for people to understand that, like, the main plot points of, about certain character motivations, the state of the world and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could still watch the anime without having played the game, but I do think having played the game would definitely help you appreciate
Yeah,
the
in a
changes in
way.
the anime more.
I guess I maybe it'll, people like watching this anime will definitely encourage people to play the game, later on. It's kind of the same for me when I, watched, what was it? Cyberpunk, Edge Runners. I mean, technically, it's not the same plot as a game, but it kind of, did motivate me to, like, just to start playing, 2077 soon afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think that Edge Runners definitely helped people get back into 2077 and probably helped a lot with the game sales.
Mhm. Yeah, I
Um,
definitely think. I mean, what's unfortunate is because, um, with, Nier's delays, delaying their episodes, last year, they kind of, like, screwed up any hype the show had at the time. I mean, not many people I'm seeing, like, are doing a lot of reactions for the show.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. But at least, like, these episodes have been more consistent. Like, there fortunately haven't been really any delays
I
so
I
far, at
mean
least
I
with
mean,
these.
speaking of delays, I mean, we are gonna have, like, a 1 week delay for next week. I mean,
Yeah, which I think was just due to the Olympics, right?
yeah, well, I mean, well, technically, the Olympics are ending today, so I don't see
Oh,
the other reason why
mm.
they're doing a delay. They're just, like, showing a recap of, like, from the start of the second part to right now.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's not a trend and we don't get any more of those.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I don't really have anything else to say though. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Yeah, it was a
Uh,
decent episode. Hopefully, we'll see more in the next 2 weeks, assuming if it's not, like, an extended delay like we did dealt with last year.
yeah, hopefully not. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.